Mike, thank you for joining us. The Peyton Manning story that is coming back from the dead here. When did you hear about this story originally?
Oh, I heard about it back in 2003 when USA Today wrote an item about it, and the headline was along the lines of allegations could hurt Peyton Manning's image, and there was just general reference to the allegations, not the same kind of elaborate terminology that we saw in the document on Saturday, but it's been out there since 2003, and we'll reference it from time to time. In fact, I mentioned it in December in explaining why Peyton Manning would be wise not to sue Al Jazeera for defamation, and I said Peyton Manning knows a thing or two about defamation lawsuits because he had one filed against him back in the early part of last decade.
Did he settle with this trainer, or did Tennessee settle?
Well, there was a claim made at or about the time the incident happened in '96 against the University of Tennessee. That was settled. And then what happened was Peyton Manning and Archie Manning, in a book that they published, made reference to this trainer, and that's what stirred this all up again. So she filed the defamation lawsuit claiming that things said about her in the book, and one of the big accusations was Peyton Manning said she had a vulgar mouth, that defamed her. That was untrue, and that hurt her reputation. It affected her employment standing, etc. So that was the second lawsuit that was filed in 2002. That's what this document that was released on Saturday came from, and that was settled as well. So everything has been settled, and there has never been a trial. There's never been an opportunity to go into court and hash this all out and let a judge or a jury decide what's true and what's not true.
Does the settlement mean that Peyton is admitting some type of guilt?
There are so many people out there, Dan, who automatically think that a settlement means that the person settling the case is guilty. I did this for 18 years. Over 90% of the cases settle now. The judges require parties to submit to mediation, which you're not forced to settle it, but you're strongly encouraged to engage in discussions aimed at settling the case, and it becomes a business decision. And just let me throw out some rough numbers. Let's say that my lawyers tell me it's going to cost me $100,000 in legal fees to finish the case all the way through trial. And I can settle it now for $75,000. Why wouldn't I settle it now for $75,000? Because I'm buying peace. I'm buying certainty. I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to show up and testify. I don't have to fret over the possibility of a verdict. And if I'm a public figure, I don't have to worry about a bunch of negative articles coming out of the days and days of testimony. So it becomes a smart business decision for someone who knows they absolutely did nothing wrong and is confident they'd win. It's still a good business decision in some cases, in plenty of cases, to settle the case.
What would you advise Peyton Manning to do?
Well, I'd advise Peyton Manning to go back and take a close look at the settlement agreement from 2002 and see what can or can't be said about this, because he could end up in a fresh piece of litigation if he says anything about the case publicly. There was a skirmish between him and the trainer a couple of years after the settlement of the defamation case, because there was some ESPN documentary and there was reference to her, and there was an allegation that he had violated the terms of the settlement agreement. So he needs to tread very lightly from that perspective. And then there's the whole PR angle to it. I think they went too far in trying to debunk the HGH story. I think the smart move here, for a variety of reasons, is just do nothing and hope this dies down and goes away quickly.
You expect him to retire?
Yeah, I think he's going to. And you know, the one weird twist on all this, does it become a factor, Dan, in his thinking that he doesn't want the perception to be that he's scared away by the HGH allegations and by this new thing? I mean, it's it's a complicated stew of emotions and thought processes, but is one of the ingredients in that blender now the perception that he's running scared if he doesn't play football next year because of this stuff that's happened off the field? I don't think that's enough to be a determining factor, but it is one thing you'd put on the ledger of reasons not to retire.
Yeah, but here at the Broncos, they got to make a decision with Brock Osweiler here. And when does he hold this press conference to announce he's either playing again or he's retiring? And does he have a press conference where he could be facing unfriendly fire with this, story coming back and maybe even the HGH stuff?
Yeah, unless he just has that canned response of, I'm legally not permitted to discuss that case, and hope that people understand it's because of that settlement. But, the Broncos reportedly, I think Mike Kliss from one of the TV stations out there in Denver says the Broncos aren't negotiating with Osweiler out of respect for Peyton Manning, and they're waiting to hear what Manning does. Well, let me tell you, any team out there that's interested in Brock Osweiler, they're not sitting on their hands out of respect for anybody. Now, technically, no other team is supposed to be talking to Osweiler's agent, Dan, but we know how this works. Mm-hmm. This is tampering season, especially next week at the scouting combine. Everybody's going to know, every agent's going to know, for any free agent that he or she represents, what's available elsewhere. And that's the real question here. Is there someone else out there desperate for a quarterback that's going to blow the doors off of Osweiler and offer significantly more than what the Broncos offer? And they may have to pay a lot more than they want to pay if Manning retires and they're faced with the prospect of not having a quarterback at all heading into the offseason.
The biggest offseason storyline is what?
Well, for now, it's all this Peyton Manning stuff. What's Peyton going to do? Is he going to play for the Rams? Is he going to retire? What's going to happen with this? What's going to happen with that? So for now, that's the one that's at the top of the stack, and just a matter of weeks before Deflategate returns to the forefront when they go to court at appeals court in Manhattan. And the NFL could still win that. The NFL has to decide what's that opening game of the season going to be on NBC Thursday night, and the Patriots are on the Broncos' home schedule. Do you schedule the Patriots at Broncos when you're still trying to suspend Tom Brady, and there's still a chance that Tom Brady is going to be suspended 4 games?
If you could decide right now the game you want, but you got to stick to it, that Thursday night of next season, the game that you want, who's going to be in Denver?
Oh, I want Panthers. I want a rematch of the Super Bowl right out of the gates. I want to see what that offense can do, the Panthers offense can do against that defense. That's the real battle. That's the real challenge, and that's the game I want to see.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, buddy.
Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk.